Hi, I'm Anne.
And I'm Paul, and welcome to Out of Place, where we speak with the ones who are challenging the status quo, leading from curiosity, and doing things differently. And I guess, above all, have felt out of place along the way.
We've got real stories, honest lessons, a few laughs, and even some tears about business and life from those who are doing it, who've done it, or just getting started.
You're exactly where you need to be. Let's get into it.
We're here. We've done 2 episodes now.
Yeah, and
We've eased into it.
now we're jumping into episode 3, where we're going to be discussing working together. So again, thanks everyone for listening, and thanks everyone for being, I guess, a part of this journey with us whilst we're really building out this podcast. And this is going to be an interesting episode because I think we're both going to talk about things that maybe we haven't really directly communicated with each other in the past. We're going to be talking about, what surprised us about working together. We're going to be talking about setting boundaries. We're going to be talking about the good and the bad, but also what's it been like supporting each other through this journey. So, if we kind of kick it off, Anne, I'm going to come to you first.
Okay, let's go.
What has really surprised you about us working together?
Ooh. Um, I would say just how easy it has been to really slip into working together. And I think it comes down to the fact that we have very aligned values in terms of how we operate as individuals. We're clear about the vision and we are aligned on what that looks like. And we keep each other in check as well. So we don't just, sit back and let things happen. We actually drive them forward. And I think that's been a really nice insight into how we operate as people in a business together.
Hmm.
What about for you?
I think what's coming to mind right now is a conversation we had yesterday after we got off a meeting.
Hmm.
And I think in that conversation, we'd both become triggered. So something became really raw for us. And it was a really good example of how we navigated it because you shared your bit, I shared my bit. We both felt misunderstood. We both felt out of place. And then within a few minutes, we looked at each other and we started laughing. And then we kind of just sat down. We just talked about it. We talked about our triggers. We talked about, this came up for me, that came up for you. And we were really able to learn more and evolve as a relationship, as a couple, but also in a business sense to really understand how we both work when it comes to business and in how we can continue to encourage to bring that out of each other whilst being mindful that everyone has some challenges, everyone has some internal shit that's going on. And it's really nice to be able to be mindful of that and curious of that, curious how that shapes out for someone. So that was just an example fresh in the mind from yesterday. But I think what's really surprised me, similar to you, is just how easy it's been. Like, uh, we don't just actually work together, right? We live together. We gym together, although when we get into the gym doors, we go our separate ways for 45 minutes, an hour, or whatever. We even meditate together at nighttime. Like, we do a lot of things together. And that can feel a bit that could feel a bit suffocating, but I've never once found it suffocating, which is also very unnatural for me because I'm a person who needs space, who really values space away from each other. Um, but I've also got to see um, and learn and grow from us working together, and you know, I guess like in my language, I knew of your talents. Do you know what I mean? I've seen you in action, seen you in business. But being directly linked to it has really helped me kind of learn and grow in some parts of my own journey that maybe needed maturing or maybe needed better, m- more truthful storytelling. So I think storytelling is a really challenging thing.
Yeah, I think people underestimate the power of communication. And we're talking about communication in a relationship because it merges into our life in business as well. But communication being clear, being honest, being upfront, but also being able to share and going back to the trigger you were talking about before, being able to share in a way that you feel is being heard, but also understood in the way that you're trying to communicate. And people think that communication is just a skill only certain people learn. Only the executives get the speaking, training and the programs, or only people at a certain level who are speaking to large crowds and audiences should be learning how to communicate. Everybody should learn to communicate because it is about how you engage and interact with somebody, but also ensure that you get your point of view across as well. And going back to that triggering conversation that we had, what I found funny about that is the fact that we were really aware of that something that we personally carry as a trigger has slipped into our business and slipped into the way that we interacted with each other at that moment in time. But we were able to process it and navigate and even negotiate it in a way of going, this is my point of view. This is what I was trying to get across. Do you understand that? And then coming back of, oh, yes, I'm understanding you now. I get it. And I appreciate that. And able to process it kind of in real time really quickly for us.
Yeah. I think it's the ability to be reflective instead of defensive or aggressive with something. It's just to be reflective and hold that space, which is a hard thing to do when you are triggered.
Yeah.
Um, but it can't, it doesn't last long, and you've got to learn. You got to have that awareness to kind of come back, especially when you're in business together, to bring it back together and ensure that you are moving forwards in the direction you want to go in. So, just off the spot, I do have a question for you, and
Hmm.
you can ask this question back to me. We're talking about what surprised us about working together. Okay, I want you to pick out one thing from working with me that you really appreciate or you find fun. She might struggle to do that, but we'll see.
Oh, wow. How much time do I have to think about this one? Jeez. Now, what I really appreciate and love about what you bring to work and what you bring to our business is this human side. You want to make sure that not only do we influence and ensure it's embedded in our interaction with each other, but also our interaction with our business partner, Abdullah, with our clients, with the people that we work with. Even if we're just having a conversation with somebody in the sphere of our work, you want to always bring it back to the human. And I think that's a beautiful thing because oftentimes, even in my career, especially working in the more traditional kind of corporate organizations, it is a metric. You're a number within a team of people. You're a number within the global scale of 20,000 people across the world, and they treat you that way. And I think that's something that's been really important for us is to make sure that in our interactions with each other, with everybody else around us, anyone who's has an impact or will be engaging in our business, we treat them as humans, and we always stand by that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to cheat because I have two things.
Okay, go.
Something that I really appreciate that I'd seen in action before, but never like personally in my own work environment is your resting bitch face. When you get that look on your face, I'm like, oh, something is coming. I don't know whether I want to like run away because it could be just explosive genius, or it could be no Paul, no Abdullah, stop faffing around. Let's keep on point here. So there's that. But I guess in the more the other thing that I really appreciate or admire about you that you bring to business is the values of who you are as someone, and we will talk about this in later episodes, as someone who has been raised in a country as a first generation. You understand what it feels like to be isolated, to be underestimated, to be disconnected from people around you, from society around you. And I think that's just such a beautiful trait and value to carry. And also, it works very well hand in hand with that heart led approach. So I think there's a nice little synchronization for both of us.
And I guess that's why we have this podcast as well, right? Because I have had moments where I felt completely out of place and definitely underestimated a lot of my career, even. So for us to be able to build a place where we can ensure that anybody that we interact with, we carry them with us and we lift them up and we elevate them, like that is such an important aspect of our business. And kind of the reason why we do it, right? Because we want to enable others to achieve their own version of success with our support, with our platform that we're building, but that they have that opportunity.
Yeah. Just that opportunity to just bring through their truth, right? To really stand for what they stand for, because I know all of us want their ability to stand true to what is true to us. But it's really hard to do that in such a fast paced world that has demands and has responsibilities. Um, yeah, that's something nice to talk about, you know, perspectives we have of each other, um, and sharing that just kind of on the fly right here. Um,
Well, one of the things that people, I've had this comment actually a couple of times from either people I've been on an appointment or I've seen somebody, and they've said, "You work with your partner?" Oh my God, that's amazing. Or I would love to do that. And it kind of took me back a little bit because I could understand where they're coming from. It's like, I don't know whether it's this aspiration that people have built or of, the ideal couple would be working together. But for us, it didn't kind of manifest that way. It was just about you had an idea, you're like, I needed someone to do this. We have complementary skills. Let's do this together. It kind of just, formed itself. It wasn't forced. It wasn't something that we expected of each other or aimed towards. Because I can see that in social media, and we'll talk about social media another time. But you get your Layla Hormozi and Alex Hormozis. They're the power couple, and people have this um, really kind of not outdated, but this ideal that is kind of hard to grasp for people as well. And I think that part of us talking about our working relationship is just to go, there are some good things, but there's also the resting bitch face that you have to deal with every day.
yeah. And I guess takeaway is what's really surprised us is just how natural it's been in working together. But I think it's important to note or take a moment to think about that, because there's a lot of experiences we've both been through in life that has led us to having that ability to naturally grow together, to naturally support each other. And one of those things is understanding ourselves, to know what our boundaries are, because that is vital in relationships, in friendships, in work. It's vital that you understand what your boundaries are, that nothing's going to quite tip you over the edge, cause you too much kind of overwhelm, to learning to take a step back and be like, no, I need to put up a solid, healthy boundary there. And that's something that we've discovered is setting boundaries in our relationship, but setting boundaries in business.
Yeah, because, and especially in our case where business and life, gym, it all melds in together. So we can either get caught up in it and allow business to drive and direct our lives, or we can set boundaries to ensure that we still protect a part of ourselves away from it, and it doesn't just become our lives and ourselves become secondary to the business itself. So, setting boundaries has been something that's been important for us actually since we first met. We were very clear from the start, and maybe it's from, a bit of the pain that we've been through in other relationships. and we've experienced where being clear and being upfront from the start is super important. And as we started to think about navigating this journey of building a business together, we were like, actually, you know what? That applies to business too.
Yeah.
And
It's,
we need to be able to, discuss that openly.
yeah. Especially when everything in our relationship and business is merging together. It's really important for us to understand how we separate them so we can have a relationship. But then again, another level is how do we separate it so we can still be individuals looking to live in a way that is really honors our values, which luckily a lot of them do align.
Yeah. Do you want to share with the audience one of the boundaries we've set as a couple?
Um, I mean, there's just so many when I think about it from day one. Um, but for me, for an example, we have business, we have a partnership, and we spend a lot of time together. I know at times throughout the year I need space and I love to travel. And sometimes that is doing it alone. And it's for us to be comfortable and secure enough in enabling that. That's one of the important things, right? It's supporting each other in each other's needs.
Yeah, because I think what I've realized about broadly in relationships is that if you can honor what the other person wants and needs, and they in respect do it to you, then it's going to be healthy for the both of you. It's going to serve you both. It's not, and when you say, oh, I want to go away or do something, and I've said that to you as well. So we both have we have a level of independence we enjoy outside of each other. It is not taken with a reflection of, oh, that's, trying to get away from me. It is actually, you want to honor your own space, your own presence, and be grounded in that. And then you can come back to work in a more present kind of way.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the boundaries we have is honoring our independence as individuals in our relationship and in a business. And because maybe our desires might be different from the norm, we actually have felt out of place in that. You travel you travel separately? Yeah, we do, but we also travel together. You do that separately? Yeah, we do, but we also do this together. We're actually allowing each other the space to continue to grow as individuals because it's our individuals who are making the relationship and it's our individualism that's creating the business.
Yeah. And I'll go back to social media about this because I think social media's perpetuated this unrealistic idea about what it means to be a couple, what it means to be in a relationship, and this idea that when you come together in a relationship, everything combines and everything merges, and you lose your individuality in that. And it's so unrealistic. It's like saying, well, whatever you were here and whatever you were here no longer exists because now you're this together. And we've really made sure that we respect each other's individuality, our choices, and we encourage it as well, right? We don't just accept it and support it, we encourage it because it is going to be better for the both of us.
Yeah, understanding each other's space as well. Like this is one of one of your boundaries is I'm a bit of a hoverer. Like I like to be on my feet and moving around a little bit. You'll see me sat at my desk for 10, 15 minutes and I get up and I move. Like I'm processing. But one of your boundaries is I'm not kind of allowed to come over, into your space over your shoulder, check in on like not check in, but see what you're working on, ask questions. You have a very firm boundary there in like, give me some space. I'm in work mode.
Oh yeah, because when I'm locked in, I'm locked in. Like I'm in my flow. Things are happening, the creative juices are flowing. And it's not about you moving around in the space. It's just when you're hovering, like right over here on my shoulder, it's like, dude, just back off. I'm writing something, just let the thing flow.
You couldn't do that in an office, Paul. Yeah, sorry, I forgot about that. What about you? Like, I guess I've just picked out one of your boundaries. What have you noticed with my boundaries?
With yours, it is about your ritual in the morning. You know, So when we get up kind of the same time, very similar. I'm usually awake earlier. And so I would typically get ready and then go downstairs and I'll do my own meditation and my own ritual and make myself a coffee. And Paul, you have your own as well. And I like the fact that from the get go, we were both very clear that this is our time. You know, this is our time to be with ourselves and to do my thing. You can do your thing. And then once that's done, then we can get ready and we can start working because it sets us up for the day as well. And it's just another moment of reflecting for yourself. You know, it's not about the thing that we're doing. And I think that's the other important thing for us as well. It's not always about the thing that we're trying to create, we're trying to build, or we're trying to do. It is about us, you know, coming together in a more broader sense than that.
Yeah. And boundaries can create friction. So I think something we've really worked hard on is understanding where that friction is and understanding how to truly respect the boundaries of each other whilst we're trying to build something. Um, and that can be challenging because everything's in flight at once. And at different times, each of us need to carry more weight. And in a sense, it's having those boundaries up like, hey, Anne, like, actually, I really need to focus on this right now. Can you please leave me alone? Can you please get out of get out of the workspace?
And when he describes a workspace, I'm at the dining table here and he's right there, right next to me on a stand up desk. So the space is very confined, I would say, very cozy.
Yeah. And, questions naturally flow. And occasionally I'll turn around in my chair, acknowledge you, but I think you just know because I swing back around and I'm back to typing.
It's just knowing when we're each in flow
Yeah.
and going, okay, no, he's in the zone right now. I just need to save that question, park that question for the moment and not ask it. I think the other thing as well we've said as a boundary is because it started to kind of, you know, trickle in where we would go to bed and we'll have finished our routines and we start talking about work. And we've decided that we will try as best as we can, even though we know sometimes it will trickle in, is to not talk about work in the bedroom.
Yeah.
That is for sleep
Yeah.
and sleep only.
And, occasionally the deeper conversations, like we don't want to lose that depth of our relationship. And, we talk about quite deep things and we really don't want to lose a space for that because then, over time we'll become more hollow.
Yeah. And we can't always just wear the hat, you know, the role of whatever it is for our company and for our business, because then we become so encompassed in that one role, in that one part of our lives, that we lose other parts and we don't give it the space and freedom to express in the other ways.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. So one of the other things we're going to talk about was, a true kind of reflection and honesty around the hard stuff and the good stuff. Some of that has already been echoed in through what we've spoken about. Um, but let's be realistic. Let's be honest. Like, what has been hard for you?
Um, oh, what's been hard? I mean, the hovering definitely is an issue, and we are working through that at the moment. Um, but I think the hard thing is really just defining the times in which we work, you know, and not letting it trickle into dinner time and sleep and all the other stuff as well. That's been so it hasn't been from a relationship perspective. It's just been us working so we're so driven towards this thing that we're trying to create that we don't take a time to just slow down. Like the other week, you know, we spent pretty much like 7 days in the house. We did not leave. We
It was 10 days for me.
it was 10 days for you.
Yeah.
we we just rotated between bedroom, desk, kitchen, and that was about it because we were so locked in and so focused. And it was great because we got such a big chunk of work done. But at the end of it, we just went, Yeah, we really need to ensure that yes, we have moments for this where we just lock in and we get it done, but then also recognize that a week is probably long enough. 10 days is long enough. We don't need to be doing that day in day out 24/7. And it also is our view about going against that hustle culture. And again, I'll talk about social media. It drives and perpetuates this idea that you have to be on. That the only way to win is to, not stop, to get up at 4 a.m. and start your routine, and then you go into all hours. That's just so unrelenting and unrealistic and also not sustainable.
Create your own rules, because rules will be different for every single person, right? And I've done it myself. I've followed maybe societal things. I've followed the getting up at 5, the getting up at 6, all those things, and they've never really brought peace into my life. Like, because what I want to chase anyway is I want to chase this, like the internal part of me. And I mentioned it in a previous episode. In reflection on the question I asked you, what do I find hard? It's remaining present. It's continuing to remain present in all different aspects of life and all the different lenses we've got to look at it, and being present in our relationship as well. Sometimes you get to the end of the day and it's like, so easy just to pick the phone up and scroll Instagram or put a TV show on, which we do, of course, to wind down, but remaining present, um, for me, for whatever's coming up for me at that time, because things are always coming up for us,
Hmm.
but remaining present for you and holding space for you, and that is something that uh, is a challenge, and it is hard, um, because I often, to recharge, I need space. And when we spend 10 days inside, you don't get much space from each other. And it's been just a really beautiful experience to be able to learn how to continue to evolve myself. Um, so I think that hard aspect of it is also the good aspect of it, because it's helping me grow.
Yeah, and am speaking about growth. What I really love about seeing you in the CEO role is how you're shaping that, but also I can see the shape of an exceptional CEO. And I'm so excited to see how you grow into that and how you learn and how you apply the lessons. But also, you've been really honest that you want to get a mentor. You want someone to help, you guide you along the way because you want to bring the best of yourself to that position and that role. And I think that's really nice to see and hear because I feel a lot of the times, and even in my own career, when you go up the ladder, it's about your ego, it's about your own success, and it's about that title that you have that you can share with your friends and tell everyone how amazing you are. But for you, there's this real genuine part, which is I just want to learn and be a really good leader, and I want to bring people with me. And I want to create a space where people can be themselves and be authentic because traditionally in the work and in the corporate spaces, you've had to hide a part of yourself to be there.
Yeah, for sure. It's that out, it's that out of place feeling again. And I think when you create your own thing, you're really able to drive it in the direction you want to drive it in. Something that I've always been throughout my life is I tried, and subconsciously this obviously happens, so I'm not saying it doesn't. I try to really limit the outside things that influence me. I always try to remain influenced by what I believe is true, what I believe is real. Um, and that's a really difficult transition when you're stepping into this role of being a CEO, whatever that even means anymore. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not a fancy title you have. It's just I have a responsibility of our business to have a vision and help it grow, and so many different things. Pull all the things together, but it doesn't mean it. Honestly, doesn't mean anything to my ego, and I want it to remain that way. So I really limit my exposure to outside influences. You see it on Instagram. I've seen it recently a lot. A lot. I've had a lot of things come up. Obviously now, this is kind of a part of my life. A lot of things come up like, this is how to be a CEO. This is how to do that. And I was like, no, like, why does someone else need to create the blueprint for us? Why can't we create our own blueprint? Why can't we do things in our own way? Because doing them your own way is the only way you're going to learn. And if you continue to remain as centered as you can and as true to yourself, you're learning in the way you want to evolve, not in a way that society measures success or sees the shiny things and celebrates them. You're doing it in a way that is true to you, which at the end of the day, for me, is it doesn't matter if it's a service, doesn't matter what it is, it's about community. Being on a really deep healing journey, I've truly understood the importance of community, of people, of holding each other, of being real, of not needing to wear the 20 different masks we've created throughout our lives to survive. We can peel those back, we can remove them. Whatever's here in your heart, that's how you lead, that's how you step forwards. That's my approach to it anyway.
Yeah, and I think that's a really it's a great for the audience to see that, because it's almost saying there is a different way to lead. It doesn't have to be the way that it has always been. But also, part of what we want to talk on this podcast about is challenging the status quo. It is not accepting things as they are because they are that way. It is allowing ourselves to experiment and to try something different, and also to bring something forward that is different as well. And hopefully, we get to inspire others to make that change in business and how they operate.
And not just through our own voices and personal stories, these obviously the first few episodes are about us, but we're really excited to pull people in who've inspired us, whether it's us as individuals from other times of our lives, and but people who've really inspired us by something that they remain really grounded in. And that was, whilst life and imposter syndrome, all those types of stuff try to pull you away from who you are, they manage to find a way to stay there and to break norms and to break molds. And I'm excited to be inspired by that, like to hear people share the challenges of that.
Yeah, yeah. We've got some really exciting guests who are going to be joining us. And I'm so grateful that they've said yes as well, because these are people who definitely inspire us, but have a story that may not be what the one that you've heard of about them. It's a story that they've kind of tucked away a little bit over here that will really encourage you to either be yourself, to challenge the status quo, or to recognize that sometimes being out of place is actually being in the right place.
Sometimes it is your superpower, like learning to quieten out the noise, the things that pull you to, instead of being out of place, to being in place, to fitting the mold, learning to quieten that down, learning to ensure that you feel safe in any room that you're in, even if things are being done differently. Because things are always going to be continued to do the same way until someone stops it, until someone steps in, until someone shapeshifts it. And that's a really hard process. But the more people you can bring together who think that way, like who knows what can be created, what can really think about humanity, what can really think about the hearts of people, where we can think about people who've been marginalized across all different areas. A lot of that, if I'm honest, I can't talk to. I don't fully understand it. I can have a appreciation for it. I can have an empathy for it. But, really, like for a lot of people, I'm a white privileged CEO, right? Let's be honest.
Yeah,
Like
you're one of the norm.
I'm one of the norm, even though I don't believe I operate that
Hmm.
way. I could be perceived that way. And I want to reframe that. I want to reshape that. The norm is no longer the norm. It's something completely different. And it should factor in marginalized people, should
Yeah,
factor in our heart.
yeah, and we'll speak about that in a different episode as well, about even my journey of climbing up the corporate ladder and the fight that I had to take to be able to get there, but also the assumptions and perceptions that people had along the way that made it really difficult for me to get there. And then what I learned along the way as well. So, as we wrap up this episode, what is one thing or a question that you would say to people who are thinking about embarking on a journey of building a business with their partner? What should they ask themselves before they start?
Great question. From my lens, it's, am I, are they in a place where they feel like things are always going to happen to life? Challenges are going to be thrown our way. But are they in a place where they know they can come back to center and they know that they feel safe in navigating that with their partner? What about you?
For me, it would be, have they been through something together where and a challenge, I would say, a challenge, a trauma, something, a difficult situation, and they've been able to see how each of them is present in that situation and how they navigate that situation. Because we're fortunate that we haven't had any, hiccups or challenges in our business life yet, but eventually something will happen. And those moments are usually the ones that define how your business goes and the successes that you have, but also, whether you need to pivot and change. And we know how we would respond in a time of crisis, and we're prepared for that. You can never be fully prepared, but I can trust that if that ever happens, that you're there and that you'll be present and that you're the right person to be beside me to move us through that.
Yeah. If everything comes crumbling down, which in life it does, not dramatically, but things happen outside of work, things happen. When things come pile on top, are we going to be people who stand together, who can last the duration of that challenge? Or are we going to start to fray away? We're going to start to fall apart. And I think that's what I was kind of getting to with mine, is knowing yourself enough that when things start pulling at you, know that you're there enough that you can hold each other, that you can stand side by side and get through it. But also have the appreciation that you're going to grow and evolve through your challenges. But not everything needs to be a lesson.
No.
Sometimes it's about just learning, like I did after the accident, to come home, to come centralized. Because that's where, for me, a lot of happiness comes from. It's stepping forwards of your heart.
Yeah. And I think it's also reminding yourselves that this is an exciting opportunity. This is an exciting experience. So really enjoy those moments of excitement, the adventure, the curiosity, the learning, the lessons, and accept those. Don't forget them and don't forget the milestones, because it can be so easy to be swept up on the things to do and the launching of something, or taking it to market, that you forget to actually go, from our starting point, this is where we started and this is where we are today, and celebrating each other.
Yeah. It's very easy to not give yourself recognition for, how far you've come. But, for me, I've sometimes reflected, and this took me a long time, by the way, to realize was, well, I'm not where I was from a week ago. I mean, I went through so many transitions throughout that deep healing period that I never really stopped. The day I finally did, I was like, whoa, well, this has got to integrate first. Then once it's integrated, it's providing that recognition to yourself, to reassuring yourself, not seeking it externally, it's seeking it internally. Look where I was yesterday and where I'm at today. Look where I was last week and where I am this week. Look where I was a month ago and where I am now. We can go on and on with that,
Mm-hmm.
but just purely just really offering yourself some self-love.
Mm-hmm. That's a nice way to end the episode.
Yeah. Thanks for listening to Out of Place. If something in today's episode resonated with you, let us know, or share it with someone who you think might need to hear it.
Or leave us a review if you enjoyed it, because it helps us more than you know. If you're looking to connect with us, please do on Instagram. We are Out of Place, spelled PLAECE.
We're so grateful that you've joined us today, and here's to finding your way. And even when it feels a little bit out of place, we'll see you in the next episode.